One Tupper Multimedia. One Tupper Multimedia. One Tupper Multimedia. One Tupper Multimedia.
The United States believes reports of Eritrean military involvement in the conflict in Ethiopia's Tigray region are credible and what it's calling a grave development. That's according to a State Department spokesperson to Reuters, despite denials coming from both Ethiopia's government and Eritrea. The spokesperson called on any Eritrean soldiers there to pull out. Meanwhile, there was a further rebuff from the Ethiopian government on Friday over suggestions that the war in Tigray was preventing aid from reaching civilians. And 2 foreign aid agencies have confirmed members of their staff had been killed there. Reuters was first to report this week that the US government believed Eritrean soldiers were effectively helping Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government battle a rebellious northern force. Abiy won a Nobel Peace Prize last year for making peace with Eritrea, so these latest reports will have alarmed Western allies. He said last week some government troops retreated into Eritrea when the violence first broke out and were given assistance. Eritrea's foreign minister called claims it entered the conflict propaganda. Communications to Tigray are down and the government tightly controls access, so many of the claims and denials have become near impossible to verify. The US State Department spokesperson also noted reports of human rights abuses in Tigray.
The era of fragmentation. In terms of total land mass and population, Ethiopia is one of the largest countries in Africa. The origin of Ethiopian history backs to the Aksumite civilization. In its history, a number of foreign powers tried to invade through the northern part of the country. The Tigray people are settled in this area, particularly Tigray regional states, according to EPRDF. The foreign invaders, hoping to attack the Tigrayan people directly and indirectly as a revenge for defeat of their back history. Some internal political parties and elites also feel inferiority. They think as the whole power is under TPLF or Tigray Liberation Front. Their strategy is to undermine the Tigray people from where TPLF comes, then to capture the power. Especially beginning from 2015, the internal political activists use community hate speech as a spring to control the poll. In this time, the Prime Minister and the President position were not in the hand of TPLF. The activism agenda had been funded by the country's head officials secretly. External forces who have been the dream of Ethiopian collapse were funded financially. This organized political complexity stepped up to civilian youth revolution in different parts of the country, especially in Oromia regional state. In 2008 in DC, Prime Minister ኃይለማርያም Desalegn, prior to resign, and the sister parties' competition became aggressive, then supporting their own side. Abiy Ahmed became a prime minister. He received an acceptance in a short period of time If the activities of this Prime Minister were under control of the Eritrean President Isaias Afwerki, even a silly mission of the Ethiopian government filtered by Eritrean security personnel. The peace agreement between Ethiopia and Eritrea were not for peace, whereas it was a mechanism for survival. According to the advice of Isaias and Amhara elites, the new Prime Minister encircled Tigray to surrender the regional government, which had prepared for the due date election. The central government aimed to postpone the election without critical reason but simply to be a king. The Tigray regional government rejected the unconstitutional power of the central government, and the election have been taken on time in Tigray. Then the federal government dictated to have taken an election after a month. The federal government comes with a new fabricated crime for Tigrayan ethnic group in the federal level and announced fabricated crimes about the former Tigrayan leaders at federal level. He calls them Yekenjib, which means Dehena. The ordinary citizens follow the Prime Minister and call Tigrayans as Dehena. Selective mass arrests of Tigrayans begin in this time. Before September 23, 2013, Ethiopian calendar, the Eastern and the Central Command of Ethiopian National Defense Force fully encircled Tigray. September 23, 2013 Ethiopian calendar. At noontime, the President Sahle-Work Zewde said that as TPLF crossed the red line, after 12 hours at midnight, the Prime Minister announced on his Facebook page, Ethiopia wage war on Tigray. Immediately, the federal government arrested the Tigrayan ENDF members, police members, and air officials. The war began in western and southeastern Tigray borders. The war was between Tigray Special Force on one side and the Ethiopian Defense Force, Amhara Special Force, Amhara Militia, Amhara Fano, and the other 8 regions and 2 city administrations special force on the other side at the beginning. Within 3 days, the Tigray Special Force defeated the Allied forces. The federal government requested a military support to the Eritrean government. The Eritrean National Defense Force fully joined and supported the Ethiopian Allied forces. The Eritrean mechanized command shelled artillery and rockets at the western front at the back of the Tigray Special Force. The Tigray Special Force leave the front and make an arrangement. In this front, the Amhara Special Force militia and Fano exterminate Tigrayans, then replaced by their ethnicity. Tigray military command became aggressive and strike some targeted military camps in Asmara using rockets. The Tigray Special Force defend and attack
The war
the
in
whole
Tigray
allied
began last
forces.
November during President Donald
The
Trump's
federal
administration.
government also
While
bring
it called for
another
both sides to
allies.
stop hostilities,
United
it
Arab
never pinned
Emirates
Addis Ababa on the
participated
presence
with
of
the help
Eritrean
of
soldiers. The
drone
United
in the
Nations has
first
said it has
level of
received reports
Tigray
of rising
war.
hunger in Tigray and
The
the dire lack
drone
of access to
brings
food.
an imbalance of
78% of
military
hospitals in the
power.
region remain
The heavy
non-functional,
artillery
according to
of
the
the
UN.
Tigray Special Force
Prime Minister Abiy
damaged
Ahmed declared
by
victory in late
the
November
United
against the
Arab
Tigray People's
Emirates
Liberation
and the
Front,
Turkey
but the rebels
drones.
quickly launched
The
a guerrilla
Eritrean
campaign
military
and
was
fighting continues to this day.
supported by Russia. Killing of artillery, airstrikes and drone attack continued without discriminate civilians. The world ignored the genocidal war. The government of Tigray withdrew from the central place of administration and joined to the special force, their center of administration. The Tigray regional states of administration became to the front line. This was the first phase of the Tigray war.
A procession of the dispossessed from western Tigray seeking shelter in an overcrowded city. More than 30,000 have made this journey in the past 10 days. Where are you going? How do you feel? They say they've been forced to flee by troops from neighboring Eritrea, as well as militia from the region of Amhara to the south. And the men with guns act like they mean to stay. The Ethiopian government spent 5 months denying the existence of Eritrean troops and tanks and armored vehicles in Tigray, although they've dropped that pretense. And they looked like a force of occupation to us, a fearsome tool in the fight against the region's former leaders, the TPLF. We stopped to talk to some villagers along the way. How many Eritrean soldiers are there? I asked. Lots, she whispered. And do the villagers have to be careful what they say? The Eritrean army stands accused of serious human rights abuses, including the destruction of refugee camps in Hitsa and this one in Shemelba. 11,500 sought shelter here from the Eritrean regime. But it was subjected to a terrifying assault. Our team, the first to document the destruction. Buildings were burnt, health facilities ransacked, medicine and supplies carted away. The attack on this refugee camp and the one at Hitsa by the Eritrean army may represent the single worst atrocity in this vicious campaign. There are still thousands of people unaccounted for. We understand the camp at Shemelba was targeted on November 19th amid heavy fighting with the opposition TPLF. We spoke to a man who said he witnessed the attack. What happened to the people who were here? The camp at Hitsa was attacked and partially destroyed in mid-November. According to one camp resident, refugees were held for months without food and clean water. Sami, who fled Eritrea in 2019, told us camp residents were marched back there in January. He says he managed to escape in a border town on the Ethiopian side, but aid workers told us thousands of refugees have been forced to return to Eritrea. In the city of Shire, hundreds of thousands are camping in schools and sharing stories of great personal suffering. And the sense of anguish here may be the only thing they have left. John Sparks, Sky News, in Tigray.